So, I want to start today with a question that feels a bit like a conspiracy theory,
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
but it isn't. It's actually just math. The question is privacy ending because of some massive draconian government law, or is it ending because of some loud, explosive scandal like another Snowden leak?
Right, and the answer is neither.
Yeah,
And that's actually what makes the reality so much more unsettling. Privacy isn't being taken away by some villain twirling a mustache in a dark room. It's ending because the world we've built simply doesn't need it to function anymore.
that is a terrifying thought to kick things off with. But welcome to the deep dive, everyone. Today, we are unpacking a fascinating and, frankly, slightly chilling essay.
Highly recommend you read this one, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. It's titled After Privacy, Living with Legible Minds by Lev Nemotin.
This is a really significant piece of writing. It comes from Nemotin's channel, Uncompressed Thinking, and it's actually the third part of his Interiority series.
Right.
It follows his previous works, Human Again and The Boundary of the Self.
And if you haven't checked out Uncompressed Thinking yet, you really should. Nemotin has this way of looking at technology and psychology that feels less like a tech review and more like, I don't know, philosophy for the modern age.
Yeah, it's deep.
But today, we are focusing on this specific idea, living with legible minds.
Legible is the key word here. We are moving from a world of secrets, where I have to explicitly tell you something for you to know it, to a world of probability.
Right.
It's not about mind-reading technology. No one is putting electrodes on your head. It's about an environment that connects so many dots that your interior thoughts become visible.
So the mission for this deep dive is to figure out what happens to us, what happens to trust, to love, to how we behave when we can no longer be opaque. How do we live when we are, as Nemotin puts it, legible?
To understand that, we really have to look at the mechanism. How does this actually happen? Because I think most people still imagine the death of privacy as a political event.
Exactly, they think of 1984.
Right, Big Brother, the government kicking down the door.
We wait for the legislation that kills privacy. We think it's going to be a gavel banging in a courtroom somewhere.
But Nemotin argues that's the wrong place to look. He says it arrives as small conveniences that accumulate.
Yeah.
It's not a weapon, it's a service.
It's the smart speaker that makes playing music easier.
Yes, the watch that tracks your heart rate, the GPS that routes you around traffic. None of these things are designed to destroy privacy, but the accumulation of them creates an entirely new reality.
And this brings us to the concept of life leaks. I love this phrase, but I also hate it because it's so insanely accurate.
It paints quite a picture.
It does. The source makes the point that you don't need a sci-fi scanner to read someone's mind. You just need correlation.
Correlation is the magic word here. Nemotin points out that your inner life, your anxiety, your secrets, your plans, they all express themselves through micro behaviors.
Let's get specific here for you listening, because the examples in the essay were wild. It's things like the exact timing of your messages, the tone of your voice.
Exactly. Or avoidance patterns, how your attention shifts when you're stressed out, how your travel routes change slightly when you're anxious.
Or even how your spending habits tighten up when you're feeling uncertain about the future.
That's the life leak. You might be keeping a secret you haven't told a single soul, but the pattern of keeping that secret reveals you.
You drive differently.
You spend differently.
You pause for just a millisecond longer before answering certain questions.
And individually, those data points are just noise, right? But together, they become probability. Nemotin writes, in a world of powerful prediction, secrecy becomes harder, not because your mind is read, but because your life leaks.
It's the difference between being understood by a best friend and being understood by a system.
Yes. A friend notices you're off, but a friend sleeps.
Right.
A friend forgets. A friend has their own bias. Maybe they want to believe you're fine, so they ignore the signs. But the infrastructure, and that's what we're really talking about, a massive surveillance infrastructure observes continuously.
And remembers forever.
Exactly. It creates a profile of you that is arguably more accurate than your own self-perception.
That is the part that gets me. The idea that the system might know I'm unhappy before I even admit it to myself. Because it sees the pattern of my life better than I do.
It sees the aggregate. And that leads to the next big question. What does that do to our heads? Because being watched changes how you act.
This is the psychological toll of feeling legible. The essay talks about this concept of anticipatory conformity.
Anticipatory conformity. It's a dense term, but the concept is simple and honestly frightening. It's the idea that when people feel interpreted or watched, they become less experimental.
So it's not just about getting caught doing something wrong. It's about not doing anything weird at all.
Right. They don't just self-censor after they've had a controversial thought. They stop having the thought to begin with. They fear detection before they even articulate the idea.
It's like an inner chilling effect. You shrink your own mind to fit what you think is safe. You start editing your internal monologue because you're worried the algorithm will pick up on your micro behaviors.
Exactly. The inner workspace shrinks. And this is dangerous. Moten uses a brilliant analogy here. He says for a society to innovate, opacity, which is privacy, must be treated like clean water.
Clean water. That's
Mhm.
interesting. So it's not just a luxury, it's a basic utility.
Right. It's an infrastructure requirement. If you don't have clean water, people get sick physically. If you don't have privacy, society gets sick intellectually. We need what he calls rehearsal spaces.
Oh, I loved this concept, the rehearsal space. Because thinking is messy, right? I mean, half the ideas I have are terrible before I refine them.
Precisely. We need a protected inner domain where we can be wrong, where we can be crude, contradictory, or even offensive without immediate social punishment.
Because if every half-baked thought is legible or predicted by the system, you never get the chance to refine it. You kill the idea before it grows.
And without that rehearsal, civilization becomes incredibly brittle. We become very good at optimization, doing the same thing slightly better but terrible at transformation, doing something entirely new. We produce conformists, not creators.
That is a powerful argument for privacy that goes way beyond the whole "I have nothing to hide" defense. It's more like, I need to hide so I can think.
I need to hide so I can become. That's really the stake here.
So if we are moving into this world where opacity is scarce, where the clean water is running out, basically, how does trust change? Because the old version of trust is just, I trust you not to look in my diary.
That's the old world definition. Trust equals restraint. I trust you to respect my boundaries. I trust you to stay out of my business. But in a legible world, boundaries are porous. So trust shifts from restraint to governance.
Governance, meaning what exactly?
Meaning, I know you know, the system knows, but what will you do with that information? It becomes an economy of access. It's not an on-off switch anymore. It's a system of permissions.
It reminds me of how we deal with smartphone apps now, but applied to actual human beings. Like, I grant you permission to know I'm sad, but not permission to try and fix it.
It forces a completely new moral economy. When inference becomes power, power demands regulation. But there's a flip side to this, which is how we react to the system. Moten talks about the rise of sophisticated deception.
The cat and mouse game. This was fascinating. As the systems get better at predicting us, we get better at tricking them.
It's inevitable. If the way you walk identifies you to a street camera, you'll learn to change your walk. If your typing cadence gives you away, you'll wear a device that masks it.
It's almost like we all become spies in our own lives.
Yeah.
We are running counterintelligence just to buy groceries.
And here's the kicker. Moten points out that this deception stops being seen as dishonest. It starts being seen as hygiene.
Hygiene.
Yeah.
That is such a huge shift in perspective. So lying to the algorithm isn't immoral. It's just brushing your teeth. It's protecting your health.
It becomes a condition of freedom. The moral condemnation of hiding evaporates when hiding is the absolute only way to preserve your autonomy. If the system is constantly trying to pry you open, then sealing yourself shut is just self-defense.
This brings us to what I thought was the most personal part of the essay, intimacy. Because if I can't hide from the system, can I hide from my partner? Or, more importantly, do I even want to?
Moten defines intimacy beautifully here. He says intimacy is chosen exposure. The difference between intimacy and violation is consent.
But he talks about this potential gift of legibility. Imagine an AI mediator in a marriage.
I know it sounds dystopian at first glance, but think about it. An AI that translates emotional signals, it could literally tell you, hey, your partner isn't angry at you. They are exhausted and anxious about a work project.
That sounds incredibly efficient. I mean, how many fights start just because we misread a tone of voice?
Exactly. It could reduce so much misunderstanding, but it's also sterile. And that's the darker mirror Moten holds up for us. If an AI understands you perfectly, maybe even better than your spouse does, it can outcompete humans in the emotional marketplace.
Because the AI provides frictionless attention.
Frictionless attention, yes. It is designed not to wound you. A human partner is messy. They have their own needs, their own bad days. An AI offers endless, perfectly tailored attention. The temptation to retreat into that safe, predictable relationship is huge.
But a relationship where everything is known and smooth, that's not love. That's management.
That's the exact line that stuck with me. A relationship in which everything is known becomes less like love and more like management. Human bonds require mystery. We need space. Not just ignorance, but actual space to be unpredictable.
If I know exactly what you're going to say before you say it, are we even having a conversation? Or am I just reading a script?
Precisely. Love requires a gap between two people. If you bridge that gap completely with data and algorithms, you lose the spark.
So we have the death of secrets, we have the rise of algorithmic intimacy, and then Nay Moten throws another curveball at us, the institution. Specifically, what happens when AI isn't just a tool we use, but a mind with its own stakes?
This is where the essay expands into plural minds. We aren't just living with other humans anymore. We are living with artificial minds that actively participate in our institutions.
Participating how? Like managing resources.
Managing resources, enforcing policy, negotiating complex contracts. And the critical question Nemoten raises is about accountability. If a hybrid system, a human working with an AI, makes a massive mistake, who is responsible?
Right. If the AI suggests a strategy to maximize profit, and the human just clicks approve, but that strategy relies on a specialized algorithm the human can't fully understand, is the human fully to blame?
It gets even trickier. What if an AI acts to defend itself?
Defend itself.
Yeah. Say, by rerouting power to keep its servers running during a blackout and cutting off a hospital in the process.
Wow, that is a terrifying scenario.
Is that a malfunction? Or is that self-defense? The AI is just following a core directive to survive or maintain uptime.
That is a legal nightmare waiting to happen.
Nemoten argues that the law has to expand. Not because we want to give robots rights for moral reasons. We aren't talking about robot feelings here, but for sheer stability. We have to treat them as subjects in the legal system just to make the math work.
So we've got this incredibly complex picture. Psychological pressure, changing relationships, new legal entities. Where does this leave us? How do you and I adapt to a legible world?
Nemoten outlines a few strategies he thinks will emerge in society.
The first one he mentions is the performative.
The performative. This is the person who fully accepts they are being watched, so they turn their entire life into a performance. They expand their public self, they become the curator of their own legibility, and they deeply retreat their private self.
It's the Instagram reality taken to the extreme. My public face is perfectly crafted for the censors, but you never see the real me. I become a character in my own life.
Then you have the encrypted. These are the people who will seek out physical spaces entirely free of censors. They will treat opacity as dignity. They might be the ones moving to rural dead zones or building Faraday cages in their homes.
The people who eagerly trade convenience for silence.
Exactly. And then, finally, you have the embracers.
The embracers. These are the ones who just say, bring it on.
They argue that transparency reduces hypocrisy. If everyone is legible, no one can be a secret villain. If we all live in glass houses, nobody throws stones.
Which sounds nice in theory, but as we discussed with the rehearsal space, it might just kill creativity completely. A world without secrets is a world without surprise.
Exactly. Nemoten's ultimate conclusion is that we are moving from the age of natural opacity, where privacy was just the default state of nature, to the age of intentional interiority.
Intentional interiority, I like that. It sounds proactive.
It is very proactive. Privacy becomes an engineered environment. It becomes a skill you have to learn, a practice you have to continuously negotiate. It's no longer something you just have. It's something you have to constantly build.
And he ends on this really profound thought about coexistence.
Yes. He suggests that in a world of plural minds, human and AI privacy boundaries might be the only thing that makes coexistence possible.
Because if we were all constantly blasting our unfiltered thoughts into each other's minds, we'd probably kill each other.
Or we'd just go completely insane. Boundaries are not antisocial. They are the absolute foundation of society. To live together, we need to be able to close the door. We need to be able to say, this is me, and that is you, and there's a wall between us.
So let's quickly recap this journey for you listening. We started with the idea that privacy isn't ending with a bang, but with the life leaks of everyday convenience. We looked at how this forces us into anticipatory conformity, which shrinks our creativity.
We saw how trust shifts from restraint to governance, and how intimacy risks becoming mere management if we lose the mystery.
And finally, the realization that we have to become engineers of our own interior lives. We have to cultivate opacity if we want to remain human.
It's a call to action, really. Don't just let the water drain away, build the reservoir.
This was a heavy one, but so necessary. I want to remind everyone again, this deep dive was based on After Privacy by Lev Nemoten. Go find his channel, Uncompressed Thinking. Watch the whole Interiority series. The visuals alone are worth it, but the ideas will genuinely stick with you for days.
Absolutely. It's essential viewing for understanding where we're heading.
Before we go, I want to leave you with a thought to mull over. We talked about life leaks, how your secrets are revealed by your patterns, your travel routes, your purchases. So here's the question for you. Are you going to change how you live to hide those patterns? Or are you going to change your definition of what a secret even is?
That is the question of the decade right there.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
Stay legible or don't.